as they say in my mother country, in the fatherland.
Oh,
60.
okay.
Or in my village. 60 he.
What does that mean? Sit down?
60 more he. That really sounds, that's a hit. 60 more he. That sounds almost Native American dish. 60 more he.
Yeah.
All right. Here we go. Yeah, that would be a good intro, wouldn't it?
I just don't know what it means.
60 more he.
Yeah.
It means sit down. Sit your butt down.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. Record. I actually hit record today. Uh-oh. What is that? Delete. Oh, David. Oh, never mind. Okay, we won't even go in there.
You're reading my text messages from my wife.
Yes. Oh, all right.
Believe the lie, so everything that I know says I gotta go, tired of going solo. But I'm never gonna go there again. This is what it is, this is who I am, this is where I finally take my stand. I didn't wanna fall, but I don't have to crawl. I'm not the one with two star hands, giving him the best of everything that's left of the life inside this man. I've been born again.
Yes, we've been born again. That's who we are. We do not hide it. We do not deny it. And we're like the Apostle Paul, that we pray that we may be found worthy.
There we go.
At his coming or our going.
Yep.
One of the two. Hey, David, I want to say something. You know, my wife and I have gotten into a TV show that sometimes I wonder if we should be watching this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And it's a strange thing because I think I watched it the first time out of curiosity. Mm-hmm. It was on CBS. I really don't like CBS. There's only two shows we watch on CBS. Because to me, they're not good shows. I mean, they're just, not good.
Yeah.
They're not necessarily bad or evil shows. They're just not good shows.
Oh,
they're so contrived.
Yeah.
But we started watching SEAL Team.
Oh.
Yeah, SEAL Team was one of them. Oh, I'm sorry. We watched one more. It's Blue Bloods.
Okay.
Or as my grandchild would say, Boo Buds.
Is that the one with Tom Selleck?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good show. I mean, it really has a great family value. It supports the cops and everything.
It does. His daughter joins the force, I believe, and
his daughter is actually the district attorney.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she's the DA.
Yes,
Aaron. But that's a great show. But no, and the other one we watch is SEAL Team.
Yep.
But it's gotten to a point where Jason, whatever his name is, that's his character on the TV. I can't remember his name. He used to have another show on Fox. But anyway, no, this one, it's called Evil.
Okay.
And it's this guy who is becoming a priest.
Okay.
And they're dealing with demonic situations and cases of where maybe they're demons, maybe it's not. They're investigating demonic activity, whether it's actually demonic or it's just
cannabis.
PTSD or whatever. One of your favorite. No. Okay. So you've got this guy who's trying to become a priest. He's black. Then you've got this lady who's an atheist.
Oh.
She's a psychologist. And so she's a total unbeliever.
Yes.
Then you've got an agnostic Muslim.
Yeah.
Who's involved.
Yeah.
He's like the techie. He's like you.
Okay.
He does the techie stuff.
Yeah.
And he doesn't really believe. He doesn't believe in Islam or Christianity.
Oh, okay.
He's just there.
Okay. Muslim in name only.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Instead of a rhino or a mino.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
And she'd be a kino or a sino or whatever you call it. So, no, she's not even that. She's nothing. So, okay. So we've been watching. Okay. And I mean, this is a spooky show. I mean, it really gets pretty. In fact, it is so spooky that they had to move it off CBS and they put it on Paramount.
Oh yeah,
Paramount has kind of now become like a garbage disposal. I mean, it's where they've moved all the stuff because all of a sudden they started cussing and they started getting really evil. I mean, evil has gotten really evil, and they've got And I mean, there's no doubt that there's demonic activity.
Yeah. Now, Paramount, for those who don't know, is the online streaming catalog if you will.
For CBS.
Yeah, Viacom generally.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. I guess Viacom bought CBS and Paramount.
Sure.
Right. But, I mean, they've got some crazy... But here, what I'm trying to get at is this. The reason I keep watching is because they always make... I mean, how do I put this? They touch reality. I mean, the stuff that somebody knows something.
Yeah.
And they go into the priest. I mean, they out the Catholic Church. The things they say, they nail Islam, they nail Catholic Church, they nail Christianity, they nail fake preachers, they nail the Satanic Church, they nail, I mean, you name it, they go after it.
That sounds like South Park.
Real version of South Park.
Yeah, we're take down everybody.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what it is, but it's the one show that really goes after EVIL.
Okay, do they go after the, quote, science religion? I mean, the higher ed kind of because that's a lot of times the unspoken faith. We're seeing it right now, in Fauci we trust, kind of thing. The medical science is the ultimate authority.
In essence, yeah, because the psychologist, the lady, and even the Muslim who doesn't believe, and he keeps having these visitations by a demon, and he keeps trying to shake it off and explain it away.
Yeah.
But after a while, you just can't explain it away. Like the latest one, they're doing an exorcism of this possessed guy who actually truly worships the devil. And they have a fake satanic cult. Okay. And what's funny about it is this fake satanic cult, the true devil worshiper, the guy who's truly demonic, I mean, really evil guy. And anybody that watched Lost, he was the bad guy in Lost. But anyway, he gets really angry at these people who are faking Satanism.
Yeah.
A true Satanist is getting really ticked at these guys faking Satanism. But anyway, in that, it just shows even a fake satanic situation, where they're faking. But anyway, but the one guy, the real guy who's really possessed, they're casting the demon out of him. But while they're doing that, the lady who doesn't believe, she's actually possessed, and they actually cast the demon out of her. She leaves the room, goes in the bathroom, she starts puking. Next thing you know, she's on the floor. The exorcism is casting the demon out of her in the other room, and she doesn't believe. I know. This is the kind of stuff they're into. I mean,
only in Hollywood.
Well, I don't know, but I'm saying it's pretty amazing stuff,
Yeah.
Only on this podcast are you going to get this kind of stuff, entertainment mixed with faith and other stuff. But no, it's pretty amazing, the stuff they get into. And I keep saying, I got to quit watching this.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I do try to watch some of these things just to be informed in what's going on. We can stick our heads in the sand and try to not watch stuff. But I mean, I definitely need to be prayed up sometimes about some of this stuff. But this show, and here's the deal: the only redeeming factor or the good news about this show is that I honestly believe they're being fair. In fact, the coolest part of the show, there's this little old nun, and so the real bad guy, the real demon possessed and satanic guy, the real bad guy on this thing. She knows who he is exactly. He fools priests, he fools all these people, but he doesn't fool this little old nun. She's like probably a 60-some-year-old nun, and she just has given her life to the service of the Lord. Yeah, and he tries to get her, and she's a step ahead of him. Every step of the way, and that is the coolest part, that this lady has devoted her life to serving Christ, and she just knows, and she's so wise and everything like that.
Yeah.
And so it
Yeah,
shows. So I mean, the show. Sometimes I wonder if these shows aren't written by believers that
Sure.
that are real. It's down to earth believers. It's not people that
Yeah.
are living off in some
Yeah, I had
cloistered.
I had a very applicable conversation last night. We were babysitting grandkids, my oldest son and his wife, out in Berry Hill, and they come home and we sit and talk. Gosh, it was till like 11 o'clock. And he's just talking all these religious, church history and all these questionable things. And is this, does this actual epistle belong in the Bible? He's getting it. And I said, you know what? I said, going back to what C.S. Lewis called mere Christianity or simple Christianity, like the nun. Her life was very simple. And living out her commitment to Christ, her commitment is very simple. How do I treat my fellow man? Because the simplicity is actually the strongest foundation. We're not, to argue, this theory of transubstantiation or this, and all this church, get off of that and go back to serving your fellow man as Christ would want you to.
Yeah.
Found your purpose-driven life is another thing. It's helped me a lot lately.
I can't remember if I shared this before, but when I was in seminary out in California, and I remember two things happened. Mm-hmm. Two things happened. It actually made me leave seminary. I was in a Master of Divinity program at Maryland, and I actually left. I had like over half of my hours to get my MDiv, my Master of Divinity. I was going to be divine.
You were very divine, yes.
Very divine. And but the first one was we had a Bible study.
Yeah.
And we invited different friends. And one day, one of the wives, apparently the wives had gotten together and spoken.
Oh, okay.
And she came, Eddie, I'm sorry, I can't come anymore. I said, why? Because we don't understand one word that you're saying. We don't understand one word you're talking about. It's just, whoosh.
Oh. Okay.
So we were in theology land.
Yes.
We were talking, we weren't yet at how many angels dance on the head of a pin.
Yeah.
We weren't there, but we were approaching that level. It was like getting ridiculous. And it really made me think and ponder that. So then the next one, and again, I don't remember if I mentioned it, Kiss was doing a concert. Did I talk about that?
No, I don't recall this.
Kiss was doing a concert. Mellyland, as you remember, is right on the Santa Ana Freeway 5, the Interstate 5.
Where it all's happening. Yes.
And so you could see Anaheim Stadium. So anyway, the high school kids there at Mellyland wanted to go witness at the Kiss concert.
Yeah.
And they needed an adult to go with them. This is high school kids.
Yep.
And I guess I'm the only adult they found. I was like, how old was I? I was like 20-something.
Yeah.
And so I guess I was 26, 27. And so, hey, we need a chaperone. Would you mind going with us? And of course, my pride, I had to show how spiritual I was.
Yeah.
Sure, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
And so I remember Saturday morning we went over there, and there were just thousands. I mean, there were 55,000 people into the Anaheim Stadium. Mm-hmm. And so we get there, they hadn't opened yet, and we're out there, and here's all these face-painted Kiss fans.
Oh, yeah. Now, this is the baseball stadium, right, where the Angels play?
Right, where the Angels play, right.
Yeah.
And so it was funny, when I first got there, here's the funny thing. I was a janitor. My work to seminary was working for this sanitation company where we cleaned all over Anaheim.
Yeah.
And we cleaned the offices at the stadium.
Yeah.
In the stadium. Mm-hmm. And so I had been in there, and, we also cleaned the offices of Carl Karcher, who owned and founded Carl's Jr.
Oh, sure.
And Gene Autry's office. Gene Autry, the cowboy. Yeah. And he was the owner of the Angels at the time.
Okay.
Before he passed away. But anyway, I diverge. So anyway, I'm out there with these kids and all these crazed Kiss fans. Mm-hmm. And I remember being terrified.
Really?
Yeah, and I didn't know what to say, because all I knew was church history, systematic theology, my Greek, all of these things. And I'm saying, Lord, what do I tell you?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm looking around, and here's these 14 to 16-year, 17-year-old high school kids, and I'm looking over that I'm with, and they're over here like,
Yeah.
just preaching to all these, and these crazed Kiss fans. And I don't say they were high. A lot of them were high, and they're just. You know, and all of a sudden you talk about shame, because I was shamed that these high school kids were witnessing to these other kids, and here I am, the theology student, the leader of this pack,
the authority,
the authority, and I don't know what to say, and then I just said, Lord, this is embarrassing. This is terrible that I don't know. What do I do? And you know what God told me? He said, in your weakness, I am made strong. So he told me, find the group here, or the people that you're the most afraid of. Yeah. That you're the most afraid to speak to. And so I see this group, you could tell it was kind of a little gang, like mostly Hispanic, and there was a guy sitting on a car with a group around him. You could tell he was like the jefe, the leader of them. And so, I have to tell you something. I used to hate the 4 spiritual laws. It was beneath me.
Oh, yes. You're a seminary.
I'm telling you all about myself.
Yes.
I was so haughty in everything, you know. The 4 spiritual laws, oh, come on. Yeah, it was too basic for me. You know. So anyway, well, I just happen to have a 4 spiritual laws with me. So what do I do?
It'll do in an emergency.
And it was a break glass, in case of emergency, break glass. And get your 4 spirit. This was a break glass moment. So anyway, I walk up to this car with all these guys around, and this guy sitting, he was like Buddha on top of this car. High, and they're smoking dope. So I pull out my 4 spiritual laws and hand it to the guy, and he looks at it and says, what is this bleep? And I explained it to him, and he says, why are you giving this to us? Why aren't you out preaching to these church kids? I said, because the church kids won't listen. They think they know it all. You know, you guys would actually probably listen. So he starts arguing, and we start talking. And so all of a sudden, this guy and I get into this discussion, and his whole group, they're all listening, and he's listening. He's asking all the right questions. I mean, it was the weirdest thing. Because he was asking all the right questions, and he's just making, throwing me softballs, And I'm able to answer these, and it gets easier. And all of a sudden, I reverted back to my first couple of months as a believer. When, you know how it was.
Simple, mere Christianity.
I was thinking back all of the answers I was getting when I was a young believer. And man, it was one of those.
I got to say, to reinforce that, I went to Rhema Bible Training Center, which didn't even claim to be an accredited college at the time. Now they're presenting themselves that way. But Kenneth Hagin told us he was good friends with one of the professors at Baylor in their seminary, right? And they're just talking. Now, keep in mind, that's Baptist. Kenneth Hagin used to be Baptist. And they would talk about things. He had this great friendship. And the guy says to him, he says, well, I'm getting ready to graduate another class from the seminary. And he said, yeah, you know what's sad? He says 80% of what we teach them is impractical to church ministry. They just are not going to use it. And so Kenneth Hagin said when he started his school, that always came back in his mind, focus on the 20% of practical ministry. And that's why after 2 years, I went off and was associate pastor in an inner city church in Minneapolis. And so I totally agree with that. We can't get so. Oh, what was it they said about the Apostle Paul, who had been a member of Sanhedrin of Pharisees? Says, much learning has made you mad.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, I do not regret one moment of going to seminary, but what I learned, the true value that I learned, and this is, I think, the true value of going to university. And this is why I think corporations want you to go to college. Like, for example, when I started my insurance work, you had to have a degree back then to go.
Yeah, it didn't matter what, right?
No,
As long as
right.
you had a
And in stock market, for example, to go to work on Wall Street, they want you to have a law degree. They love people with law degrees. Well,
Yeah.
the reason is they know you know how to study and how to be able to read and understand the things you.
Yes, or as it says in the introduction to your book, learn how to think.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. And so what I learned is how to take knowledge and find it, to go find it. I don't just take things at face value. I'll go here. I'll go
Yeah.
everywhere. I'll go to liberal thinkers and authors. I'll go to liberal magazines, books, etc. And then, as they say, chew the meat and spit out the bones.
Yeah.
And but that's the real key to everything is knowing where to look. I remember my first semester I had a professor, and he taught me the difference in eisegesis and exegesis, because I'd been to a lot of seminars and evangelistic rallies, and a lot of preachers who would tell these stories. You know, I don't want to say make up stories, but create stories, kind of like The Chosen. Now, I'm not saying I love The Chosen. It's the best, to me, the best depiction of Jesus's life in a long time, if not ever. Okay, I love it. So don't get me wrong. I'm just saying it's how it could have been, might have been.
Yeah,
but we don't know.
We don't. Yeah,
right. So I remember one time telling my Old Testament professor, "Well, what about this? And didn't that happen? I mean, couldn't it have happened?" He said, "Yeah, it could have." He said, "But why don't we start with what we know actually happened?"
Oh, yes.
You know, just take the Bible at face, and then get that as your foundation, and then from there you work out, because millions of people have been led astray by taking what might have happened and making that their foundation, and then that all of a sudden ends up in error.
Yeah, I want to say G. Gordon Liddy, of Watergate fame, a former FBI agent, worked in the Nixon administration and then went to prison. He had a radio show back in the early 90s I used to always listen to. Now, he was a Fordham Law School graduate, and he talked about the value of a liberal arts education. There's college that you go to for the sciences, whether it's medical science, engineering, or whatever, right? But he said the value of a liberal arts degree is in how it teaches you how to think.
Right.
And you don't necessarily have to go get a accredited 4-year or 6-year education if you surround yourself with the right kind of people, who help you think. I'm going to go way back to what you said in the beginning about, these TV shows and should you be watching it. It brings me back to a quote I'll never forget. Remember Frank Peretti's books, The Present Darkness?
This Present Darkness, Piercing the Darkness.
Early on in the first book, the main character, he's at a rock concert. And, you got the sound going and everything, a big stage production, and they're holding everybody enraptured. And the lead singer, has got this very polished show. And Frank says to himself, "Where are we going? Where are you taking us?" And last night I'm driving home talking to my wife, from babysitting at my son's house. And I said,
where are we going?
No, I was reflecting on our conversation and, different forces of society trying to take us different directions. And we've always got to be asking that, whether you're attending some new church or watching some new TV show or, listening to some politician talk about their vision for our future. Where are we going? Where do you want to take us? So you're trying to figure out what is their real agenda.
Yeah.
Because they will hide it. More often than not.
That's very important. See, you've nailed it, and that's the question we should ask with everybody running for every office. And we as conservatives tend to attribute that to Democrats so often, but there are too many Republicans running that do exactly the same thing. That they're running for office, not running to serve the people. That really ticks me off. It really bothers me more because I expect it from a Democrat.
Yeah.
But when I smell it from a Republican that they found a cushy job here. Mm-hmm. They found a way to get paid to go into office and have a nice income and a lifetime income, essentially. What is it? Two terms and then you're set for life. Mm-hmm. Things like that. I mean, it really upsets me, and because the greatest thing you can do is to serve your people. Mm-hmm. Now, I've always made it one of my aims to never run for office, but to run from office.
Yep.
Because I don't ever want to get caught in that trap. The one good thing that I think J.C. Watts did, maybe I'll say one of the good things, I'm sure he did more than that, but was when he said that people go to Washington claiming it's a cesspool, but then when they get there, they think it's a whirlpool or a jacuzzi. And because they enjoy the trappings of it.
Yes.
And sadly, I think he's he actually succumbed to it, I believe. That's one of the things I hate to say about my friend JC. But it is too easy to succumb to things like that. It's what I told you when I went to Uganda, and after about a week, I finally understood how colonialists ended up becoming colonialists. Mm-hmm. I thought, man, I could get used to this. Servants, they bring you your food, they pick up your dirty clothes, they wash them, you come in that evening, you've got those dirty clothes are clean clothes. Yeah. Your beds are made, they bring hot water for you to take a bath in when everybody's running around and can't take a bath, period. Even cold, and I realized how I was loving it. Yeah. And I, all of a sudden I realized, man, this is not good. Yeah. This is not good. Now I see how these people that colonized the Africa and what's now the United States of America got into it. Columbus did not start out with the intent to do this, right? Yeah. In fact, and I'll close with this, there's a commercial that infuriates me every time I see it. It's with Matt Damon, where he talks about the people who achieved and those who almost achieved and never achieved. And the first thing is he implies that Columbus never achieved. Yeah. He sought out to achieve, but he failed. Columbus did not fail. The reason, Matt Damon, you are doing a commercial today, dummy, is because Columbus, according to you, failed. He may have made it to Cuba, but he was 90 miles from the mainland. And if he hadn't made it to 90 miles from the mainland, we probably never would have made it to the mainland. I know. You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, what an idiot comes up with and allows somebody to use them for a commercial to say, to disparage Columbus. And then, of course, he talks about, he has these astronauts going, and of course they have black astronauts. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is such an idiotic thing. That's why I just cannot stand him. I cannot. It's so bad that I actually like Ben Affleck. Yeah,
it's that same mentality, woke mentality that they will, the academics will just like, oh, Leif Erikson was a great Viking leader, Columbus is horrible, Okay, which of them built a sustaining Western Hemisphere?
Yeah, and they both did the same thing. Yeah. I mean, honestly, if Leif Erikson made it to the U.S. or to the Americas, what's the difference? The only difference is the rest of them couldn't make it again. Yeah. Right, exactly. Hey, we better take a break. Hey, everybody.
This is awesome.
Yeah, this is Eddie and Dave. We've taken 30 minutes.
Totally off the cuff.
Totally. That's what I love about this. You never know we don't ever know what we're going to get on this show. Not one thing we talked about is in my notes or his notes, but we love it. So, hey, listen. Yeah. We're going to go ahead and take a little break, but we're not going to break We're just going to talk. Dave?
Let me reset the camera.
All right. You get right back over here. Quickly. Hey, by the way, while we take this break, I'm going to go ahead and speak about my book. It's called Y'all Have Sinned, and it is available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
And eventually we'll get it up on one of our websites.
I hope we do a good review of it, Eddie, you and me.
Yeah.
As a project.
So look for it. If you'll go to Fresh Black Coffee at gmail.com, freshblackcoffee@gmail.com, give us your address and everything. We'll keep you abreast of everything, okay? Anyway, in the meantime, we'll get back to the show.
And somewhat made the same kind of thing. If it's a minor incursion, I don't expect that. And sure enough, full-blown invasion and takeover of Kuwait, and they called it the 19th province. It's always been, it was supposed to be a part of Iraq, and that led to the Gulf War I.
Right.
And look at how much expenditure of effort globally it took just to fix a problem that was caused by some stupid statement on foreign policy. That's why what Biden said could cost us dearly, globally.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Not just us, but especially Ukraine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah.
The second thing that took away, he praised him. Well, he didn't praise himself, but he basically said nothing to see here about his withdrawal from Afghanistan.
Yeah.
He said it was fine.
Yeah.
No problems.
Yeah, gives himself high marks.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
God, what an idiot.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
The guy's clueless.
I think he's trying to learn from the Trump school of press conferences. You never admit you made a mistake.
Or the Stuart Smalley skit from SNL. I am somebody. I am important. The self-affirmation kind of things. He's doing it from the pulpit at the White House, from the podium, saying, oh, I'm doing great. It's that participation trophy that your kid gets in 3-year-old soccer. Yeah. I'm sorry, but this is not some fake made up, affirming your self-worth, Joe. Lives are on the line. Yeah. I'm sorry, I'm getting off on the soapbox.
No, that's right. And then the economy. Economy's fine. It's good. Inventories are fine. Yeah. No worries. No worries, mate.
Yeah.
It's like the Aussie. No worries, mate. I mean, honestly, somebody told him just get out there and pretend nothing's wrong. Everything's good. And we'll take it from there. We'll send Jen Psaki out and all of your different little hench people out there to clean it up. Anything you mess up, we'll clean it up afterwards. And it's like guys are out there, like the circus, they're out there with shovels and brooms.
Hoover scoopers.
Yeah, we're cleaning it up after you to make sure everything's fine. But no, it's sad. It really is sad because I don't know. We just are in a situation right now where our nation is in quite a mess. Yeah. We're in quite a mess. The good news though, there's hope. There's hope. I remember Billy Graham back in the 80s had a big worldwide evangelistic movement. It's called There Is Hope.
Yeah.
I always have to remember because in Dutch it's Ed is hope. Ed is hope. So there's hope. And I believe there's great hope. And I think God is working. We just have to have faith and trust.
Yep.
And you see it happening. You're starting to see things crumble a little bit on the edges, and it's moving. We just have to continue to have faith, continue to pray and praise and thank God.
Yeah.
For
Can I say something on this whole Russian thing with Ukraine stuff? Putin has one solid point he can make. Remember when the Russian missile crisis, Cuban missile crisis happened? We weren't comfortable with missiles pointing at us from 90 miles away. He says, look, if Ukraine joins NATO and NATO base is going, NATO installation, NATO's setting up missiles pointing at Moscow, from just over the border. You got to say, there is a comparison there. And keep in mind, when Kennedy, supposedly won that, no, he had to say, okay, we'll take the missiles out of Turkey that are pointed at the Soviet Union. So, we're not always getting the full story on here.
No, that's true. No, I agree. There's it's a difference. It's kind of like conservatives and Republicans. Mm-hmm. That conservatives always think that their means, even though we use some of the same means and tactics that the others use, mm-hmm. it's because our motives are pure.
Oh, yeah.
That everything's good.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that you and I know mm-hmm. that if we go into Crimea, mm-hmm. okay, into the Ukraine, we're not going to attack Russia. We have no interest in it. Although we do have oligarchs, business people that would love to get access to the Black Sea, to mineral rights, mm-hmm. to the access to the routes in the Mediterranean and to the Black Sea, all of that whole, plus setting up bases with access to Iran. Mm-hmm. That's where our missiles would be pointed, at the Middle East, not at Russia, right? So we know that.
Yeah.
But Russia, like you said, Russia can easily use that as an emphasis mm-hmm. to beat us up with, go back to the Cuban Missile Crisis mm-hmm. and all of those type of things. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, international politics, and it always goes back to Cain and Abel.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, it always goes back. If people just trusted each other.
Yeah.
We just don't trust each other. And you have evil people always trying to one up each other, always trying to figure out ways that we can, get ahead. I watch almost exclusively every morning, Fox Business. That's my go-to place. Yeah. Even I watch Kudlow in the evenings mm-hmm. and Liz McDonald mm-hmm. And the Money Honey. I forget her name now. Early in the morning, she used to be on CNBC. What is her name? Anyway, Maria Bartiromo.
Yes, okay.
Okay, she used to be called the Money Honey.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was her moniker, the Money Honey.
Okay.
But she's older now, but she's very good. She's the most
sharp woman.
And she, I won't say hates Democrats. Let's just put it this way. She does not care for that other party.
Yeah.
And they won't even go on her show
anymore
because she just eviscerates them.
Yeah.
But she tells the truth. Mm-hmm. I mean, and the guests, if you're tired of Fox News and you're not quite ready to go to Newsmax, go to Fox Business. I promise you will be, you'll be amazed. Mm-hmm. But anyway, but when I go there and I see what's really good, because they put everything in a perspective. They put everything into the real world. What it mean. A lot of times it's what it does with your money. But what they show is how businesses and what corporations are doing.
Yes.
And the greed and the stuff, you can mm-hmm. see it. I mean, you can see what is going on. And they actually have CEOs that are ready to tell the truth and what's going on with China and Russia and other nations.
Yeah.
It really tells you who the good guys are and the bad guys. And they're not afraid. That's what's weird. It's still Fox, whereas Fox News Channel, for some reason, is afraid to say, I don't know what's going on over there.
No, they got woke. They got, it's horrible.
I don't know what's going on. Whereas Fox Business, they're not afraid.
Yeah.
They will tell you.
Yep.
So anyway, hey Dave, we better take another break here. And then we'll be back with the final segment of Fresh Black Coffee on this Saturday morning.
All right.
No, hey, I want to do something a little different today.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, what do you do for a living?
I own a home improvements company that I started in the mid-'80s just as a moonlighter. In 1995, I quit my day job and went into a full-time.
So now you remodel homes and do...
Yeah, I do anything from, tear up your backyard, put a new deck and fence in, to paint the living room, to, turning that attic space into an extra livable space, all kinds of things like that. Vancraft.net. You can find out more on the web.
Vancraft?
Craft. Like arts and crafts. Yes.
Okay. Dave, in this final segment, I want to go back a couple of years. This is from 2019. I don't know how, well, we weren't on here back then, but I don't know if you remember this story. I don't ever remember hearing this, but the heading was, did an Ohio State rep propose exempting African-American women from abortion restrictions? This is serious. This is for real. This is not Babylon Bee, everybody. That's what's so crazy about it. In April of 2019, Democrat Ohio State Rep Janine Boyd proposed exempting black women from stringent new abortion restrictions. Boyd proposed Amendment 0291, which would have provided an exemption for black women to abort their babies. Boyd suggested protecting black children from abortion is akin to slavery.
Yeah, actually, she was, at least at some point, a congressional district. She's actually a member of Congress.
Oh, no, I know. Well, maybe she is now, but this was back when it was, she was in the State House.
Check my...
Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. Yeah, I still got you muted.
You thought I was going to argue with you, so you shut my mic off, yes.
No, that's why you were running around trying to get the battery going. Yeah, she was back in the State House back then. So she's an actual U.S. congressperson now?
Yes, and Cleveland and down into Akron actually, that's the congressional race that she subsequently has been running for. But,
she's running, or did she win?
Yeah, but so I haven't checked the date on this, but my point here is she's an urban district state rep.
Oh, well, I figured that. Yeah. I mean, I knew, one thing I knew for sure, that she was black.
Yeah.
She suggested that, actually this is, whoever wrote this didn't write it right, but she suggested subjecting black children, I'm sorry. No, it's all right. I'm sorry. Protecting black children from slavery is akin to,
she's protecting children.
The
That's
children
wonderful.
From abortion is akin to slavery. Can you imagine? I mean, now that I was trying to ponder this, because it didn't make sense, but now it makes sense. It's even worse.
Yeah. Protecting
black children from abortion. In other words, keeping black children from being killed is akin to slavery. Who in their right mind? It reminds me again of that Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker movie where he says, "Are you listening to the sound coming from your mouth right now?"
Yeah. Yes.
Black slaves were once treated like cattle and put out to stud in order to create generations of more slaves, she said during her remarks. Our country is not far enough beyond our history to legislate as if it is. So what you're saying is that they were put out to stud, so now what we're going to do is kill them instead.
Yeah, kill them so they don't end up slaves. Yes. Yeah, I'm just looking at the map, and I'll put this up here, overlay on our video podcast.
And that's blue. I'm sure that I read your story, right. And the blue is where she...
Yeah, Republicans control the state house there, and the little bit of blue areas are, around Columbus, which is where Ohio State is, right? And then Cleveland, and then a little bit down here in Cincinnati. But I'm telling you, this is horrible optics.
Do you know, by the way, do you know who comes from that same district?
Who's that?
LeBron James.
Really? Yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. Cleveland. Yep. Yeah. Yep. Cleveland Heights, Cuyahoga County.
King LeBron.
Yep.
By the way, do you know where I got this?
Uh-uh.
Snopes.
Really?
It's been verified. It's bona fide.
Wow.
It's bona fide.
Yeah.
By Snopes.
Yeah, it's kind of called the county option thing. Because we had that here in Oklahoma as soon as medical marijuana passed. You know, a bunch of cowboy representatives out in the panhandle said, we want the county option. Kind of like they did when they passed liquor by the drink in Oklahoma, as it was passed under that, we're going to have county option. You know, she wants county option on abortion. Now, if Roe versus Wade
but she actually, you forget the count. I mean, yeah, she went county option, but she basically proposed that black women were exempt from abortion bill. Yeah. Because she wanted, in other words, kill all them black babies. I mean, are you kidding me? Yeah. Are you nuts? Lady, what has happened to you? I mean, my people.
That's almost like a Margaret Sanger thing, you know. She wanted, Planned Parenthood was especially to keep the black population down.
Well, of course.
But she's going to do it as, liberate the black woman, that she can just, kill all of the consequences of her slutty lifestyle.
You're going to make me cuss on this podcast. I haven't cussed in 40 years, and 50 years, 60. I don't know how. I forget how.
I'm sure there's at least one chapter in your book, Y'all Have Sinned, that's going to touch on this.
Oh yeah, Judas goats and stuff. It's one of my chapters in there. Yeah. By the way, dealing with COVID a little bit. I want to deal with COVID here. The NFL has made a massive COVID change finally. Yeah. They will no longer test unvaccinated players every single day. I guess they were testing COVID, their NFL players every day for COVID. So now they'll only be tested if they report symptoms. Yep. So now, if they report symptoms. So if I'm a player with the playoffs coming up, do you think I'm going to, and I've got a sniffle, I'm not feeling that good, do you think I'm going to report it? No, exactly. I'm not going to report it. Right. I'm not reporting it. I'll get through the weekend and because see, I don't know if you know it, but in the playoffs, the rules change. So for example, this weekend is the playoffs. And so every extra game you play, you get, I don't know if it's $20,000 to the winner or $20,000 to the winner, $10,000 to the loser. Okay. And then when you get to the championship game, it's like 50-25. And then in the Super Bowl, I don't know, maybe it's 150 or something. So if there's and I may be on the bench, I may be sniffling and sick as a dog, but I'm going to get my 50 grand for just being on the bench.
Right. And the coaches have a motivation in this. Do you remember all those years when Tom Brady played for New England and Belichick, who might be the most brilliant head coaches ever, he learned how to manipulate any rule to his advantage. Right. And one of the things he always did for several years there, every week on the injury report, Tom Brady was questionable. And he wouldn't talk about it at press conference, but he always wanted to keep the other side off balance. Right. They don't know if they're going to have to, prepare their defense for Tom Brady or the fill-in quarterback. Right. And so it's just kind of like, the rule in high school football, they had this tape exchange, so where you could only get a tape of your upcoming opponent if you provided a tape of your team. Right. Everybody wants to get information. They don't want to give up information. Yeah. So, that's crazy thing. And on this whole COVID and this racial exemption thing, there's a state of Oklahoma story about St. Anthony's admitting to racial bias.
Yeah, give us, so we don't run out of time. Go ahead and give us the scoop on
Okay, so the SSM is the acronyms for this admittedly Catholic hospital chain headquartered in Janesville, Wisconsin. And they have hospitals in Wisconsin, Illinois, Missouri, and in Oklahoma. And in Oklahoma, they have 5 significant hospitals in central Oklahoma: Shawnee, Midwest City, and 3 Oklahoma City campuses. These are major hospitals, major players. And what they were doing, what started out sounding like a well-intentioned effort to show objectivity in how they treat people and whether or not they get admitted in the hospital. And to show that they weren't first checking their insurance to see how much they could scam the person, because, they get accused of that all the time. So they were using a point system for admission. And you had to get 20 points, and then you're in. It had to do with your health, your age, a number of things like that. But they front-loaded. If you were non-white or Hispanic white, you got 7 points right off the bat. Now all of a sudden you only need 14 actual points, where the white folk need 20. So that's a 43% head start towards getting it. And they were admitting it. And finally, Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty called them out on it. Because again, they're a Wisconsin-based deal. And they admitted it in a press release. And they defended it, saying early on the science substantiated this, but now no longer does.
Blame the science.
There was never any science that said whites have an advantage or whites are better. Nothing in science.
Do you know that in Tulsa, I used to follow the numbers.
Yeah.
In Tulsa, the African-American death rate was 5%. 5%. Mm-hmm. That's it. Of the whole piece of the pie. Mm-hmm. And white was the majority.
Right.
Native American was next, and then Hispanic. Yeah. But the black percentage was 5%.
Yeah, and I have done a lot of deep dives over the last 2 years and reported on at SoonerPolitics.org. And by the way, the article on this is the headline at SoonerPolitics.org. You can follow it. Because if you don't read it here, you're not going to find it. And I called Randy Crable, Tulsa World. We spent over a half hour talking about it. He said, look, I'm going to pass this off to our COVID experts in their journalism staff. I still haven't, as of this Saturday morning broadcast, I still haven't seen anything from them. None of the TV, print, radio. Nobody in Oklahoma is talking about this. And they admitted it.
They don't want to touch it.
Right. And so this is a big time problem here, because how else are we going to confront woke racism? Woke racism.
Right.
Because it's a real thing, and we have evidence here in corporate policy and denying people health care. By the way, this point system also included their ability to get monoclonal antibodies. Huge, proven, effective treatment to cut down hospitalization. That, kind of a pseudo inpatient, outpatient, because you had to take IVs for it. So anyway, this is a problem. It's happening right here. And our media is basically gaslighting us on it by not reporting. They know it's there, but pay no attention to the man behind that curtain. That's really what they're saying.
Sounds like a class action lawsuit.
Yes, I reached out to Gary Richardson, very prominent attorney, and he said, yeah. He says, and he came back to me again. He said, where's that link? I've got to dig into this. Yeah. Because not only a class action, just to say to folks, if you've been denied inpatient care, and, because, you're white, contact the 800 number like you see all the time.
And if you suffer damage, your loved one died.
That's the other thing. Because I see a lot of maybe 7 or 8 figure lawsuits. Because if dad here, successful provider for his family, he's got 3 kids in high school getting ready to go to college, and now he's dead, and he was denied early treatment. Yeah, and they need to pay because it is that kind of racism that killed dad.
Reverse racism.
It's still racism.
Oh, no.
It's woke racism.
It used to be called
reverse.
Yeah. Which is the same thing.
And now that's what woke racism is.
It's one of them isms that ought to be a wasm.
There you go. Right. So anyway, that's my story at SoonerPolitics.org.
Good. Hey, getting back to the NFL.
Yeah.
Okay. The reigning NFL MVP. Mm-hmm. Do you know who that is?
Well, I know this year they're talking Aaron Rodgers.
Well, that's who it is.
Yeah.
He's a top candidate again, as you said, and with the Green Bay Packers. He opened up about his vaccine saga.
Yeah.
Now, I personally, I think he's a despicable human being. I don't care for Aaron Rodgers. No, not because I'm not a Green Bay fan. He's just not a good person. Okay, he's not a great guy.
Okay.
He's an atheist, and he's always Anyway, but he's somebody that Jesus died for. So
that's right.
He's somebody worth praying for. Okay. But anyway, he said, I had a plan going in for the question being asked, and this is when he was on the Joe Rogan. I'm sorry, it was on ESPN.
Okay.
He did an interview on ESPN, and he did a lengthy deal, and ESPN basically ripped him to shreds. But he says it was a pseudo witch hunt on who was vaccinated, who wasn't. He said he was in a multi-month conversation that turned into an appeal process with the NFL at the time.
Yep.
And his appeal hinged on the exact statement about being immunized or not. So he says, what I said was, number one, it was factually true. I went through a multi-immunization process. Mm-hmm. But he went through a different process. He went through... It was like an alternative medicine process. He didn't take the vaccines.
Yeah.
It was a holistic.
Or like I've been taking zinc and quercetin, which a lot of doctors will say that's as effective as hydroxychloroquine.
Said, I don't know what you would call it in the end, but I would call it immunized. He said they wouldn't call it that.
Yeah, I think it falls in what they call prophylactic treatment. In other words, preventative treatment.
It's homeopathic treatments is what he calls it. During the off season, he claimed it would help him protect himself better against the virus. He said he tried to appeal to the NFL's decision making process to consider him an unvaccinated person at that point and present research to the league.
Yeah.
He also said the NFL doctor told him it was impossible for a vaccinated person to get or spread COVID.
Oh, yeah. That was the mantra.
Right.
A year ago, that was the mantra.
A claim an NFL spokesman later pushed back on in a statement on Pro Football Talk. He said he also created a stir when he told listeners on Joe Rogan that the mRNA vaccine platform he was on it with the inventor, Robert Malone, the mRNA inventor. Rogan Malone interview had been widely criticized, leading to Twitter banning Malone and Spotify being urged to crack down on Rogan's interview.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, got to cancel that boy.
They removed the interview from its platform. He was asked what he wanted others to take away. When in the course of human history, this is what I want to get to here. I'm sorry, I'm taking a long time to get to this. He said, when in the course of human history has the side that's doing the censoring and trying to shut people up and make them show papers and marginalize a part of the community ever been the correct side? Yeah. What does that conjure up ideas from?
Well, yeah, you start out with the Jefferson line, the Declaration of Independence, and you go right to fascism. Yeah.
Hitler.
Yeah.
Mussolini.
Papers, please.
Communism, Stalin. Yeah, exactly. All of that. He said, we're censoring dissenting opinions. Yeah. What are we trying to do? Save people from being able to determine the validity on their own or listen to and think about things to come to their own conclusions. Freedom of speech is dangerous now if you don't align with mainstream narrative. Yeah, which has been proven false narratives. And they're admitting they were wrong. That's, I think, first and foremost what I wanted people to understand, and what people should understand is that there's censorship in this country going on right now. Now, this is what's really important, and I want you to get this. Are they censoring terrorists or pedophiles? Yes. Or ayatollahs? Criminals who have Twitter profiles? Yeah. No, they're censoring people, and they're shadow banning people who have dissenting opinions about vaccines. Yeah. Why is that? Because Pfizer cleared $33 billion? Cleared. They didn't make it. They cleared $33 billion, and Big Pharma has more lobbyists in Washington than senators and representatives combined. Yeah. Why is the reason? Either way, if you want to be an open-minded person, you have to hear both sides, which is why I listen to people like Dr. Robert Malone, Dr. Peter McCullough. I have people on the other side as well. I read stuff on vaccine hesitancy side, and I read stuff on vaccines are the greatest thing in the world side.
Yeah.
He added that it didn't make sense to him to censor everyone who questions the so-called mainstream narrative.
Yeah.
So there you have it. That's the whole scoop on Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I want to say now he has had COVID, which historically any immunologist who's gone through college and med schools knows always natural immunity through having the illness, the viral infection, and then defeating it with your own body's immune system. That is the gold standard of, building up your protection. And Aaron Rodgers has that. Good news. NCAA has changed their rules. And they're saying if you've had documented case of COVID within, I think they said 3 months, they said we're going to treat that the same as being vaccinated. Right. Now, the other thing I want to say on that, last year about this time, when people said that vaccine isn't going to last, that's not going to give you permanent immunity, they got thrown off of platforms, social media platforms, called her a liar and don't listen to them and we're going to cancel them. When are social media platforms now going to apologize and restore their honor and integrity and reputation? They ain't. Because this was never about the science. This was about you cannot refute what the authorities say.
Right. No, exactly. And that's the thing that people have to understand, that there's more going on here. And I think Aaron nailed it when he was talking about the 33 million that Pfizer.
Yeah.
And let's not forget Moderna. There's so much stinking money. I mean, we haven't even gotten into or touched the money that these hospitals are making.
Yeah.
My daughter told me early on, this is way back, and I think that they're paying 30% more, at least 30% more for treatment for COVID cases.
Right.
That's why a lot of these, no matter what you went in the hospital with, or whether you were ultimately, if you had COVID associated with you, they were putting you down for COVID. You died of a motorcycle accident, car accident, you fell off a ladder, you had a snake bite. If you had COVID, you were COVID.
Yeah.
And they would get that extra 30%.
Yeah.
Insurance companies were just paying, it's insane.
Yeah. Now there was a naturally, wise reason why a hospital should argue, hey, look, we've got to put in an isolated, separate climate control system so that they aren't infecting everybody down the hallway of this hospital.
Yeah, but that should be shared across the board.
Right.
You don't just jack up and start lying and making up stuff to
right.
to
but
do that.
This is naturally going to happen is you just create an incentive. It's kind of like, what is the old axiom? Whatever you subsidize, you will get more of.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
Including, black teenage girls, 16-year-olds getting pregnant. Why? Because we'll subsidize it. You'll get your own apartment. You don't have to listen to mama no more. Yeah. You're a mama now. You got a baby. Now you get your own apartment in the projects.
By the way, I'm torn whether I should say this or not. Throw this in. I've been thinking about this for a while, doing an ad about this, but it's just a matter of time before life insurance companies change mortality rates. It's been a long time. I don't think mortality rates have been changed since the 60s.
Wow.
And what that means, basically, life insurance rates go up.
Yeah.
Because the chances of people dying are higher with the new introduction of COVID. So if you don't have life insurance, especially as a young person, you may want to consider getting in. And even an older person, the sweet spot is 35 years old. Anything below 35, once you start getting above 35, rates start going up. So if you're 35 or under, I'd advise getting a 30 or 40 year life policy, a term policy.
Yeah, fixed guaranteed rate term, right? Or whole life.
Just a 30, 40-year term policy, and then that'll last you till you're 65, 75 years old, and then by that time you should be out of debt and everything. But anyway, well, not in debt, but have your house paid off, your kids out of school and everything like that. But anyway, I just want to throw that out there. I just thought of that because of the whole thing with COVID. But one last thing here. Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
Britain has finally gotten sense.
Prime Minister
and they have decided to lift all COVID restrictions from England, making a break from the rest of the EU.
Yes.
So London, face masks will no longer be mandatory in public places, and COVID-19 passports will be dropped for large events, even as infections level off in most parts of the country. Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced Wednesday. He told lawmakers that the restrictions were being eased because government scientists think it's likely that the surge of infections prompted by the highly contagious Omicron variant has now passed. While hospitals in northern England are still getting pressed by high caseloads and infections, we're still rising in schools. Johnson said hospital admissions, patients in intensive care units elsewhere in England are stabilizing or falling. The government is no longer advising people to work from home, and compulsory face masks will be scrapped in secondary school classrooms starting Thursday. COVID-19 passes will no longer be needed to gain entry to large-scale events beginning January 27th. Face masks will no longer be legally required anywhere in England as of that day. We will trust the judgment of the British people and no longer criminalize anyone who chooses not to wear one.
Take that, Aussies.
Oh, take that, Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
And Mayor of New York and Michigan and everywhere else. So anyway, it's amazing. I mean, that's amazing.
The house of cards has fallen. I mean, because you look at, remember we talked, I think, last week about Djokovic in the Australian Open. They finally admitted, their immigration minister said, no, we kicked Djokovic out. Not because he didn't have comparable immunity as being vaccinated, because he had COVID last month. We kicked him out because and they didn't tell us at the time, they were getting ready to go house to house force vaccinating people. And they started that this week. And they said, he's a dissenter and he was going to cause internal dissent to happen.
Man, I'd have been getting me a boat. I'd rented a boat to flee that country. If I had.
Australia.
I wonder if they were banning people from leaving the country.
Yeah, like a Soviet satellite state.
If they were banned, that would be something if you're an Aussie and you can't leave the country. But you know what's weird? I have friends there, and I wonder if I need to ask them if it's the whole country that has to be vaccinated or not, because they seem to not, unless they've eaten the blue pill.
Yeah.
Like in the Matrix, you know, you the red pill or the blue pill.
Yep.
So I don't know. Hey, we better wrap it up. It's another week. And we thank you all so much for all that you do every week by listening. Yeah. Hey, don't just listen though, people. Spread the word. And we hope this is helpful, the information we give you, and we hope you'll ponder it. Don't just accept it. Research it, think about it, and pass it on. By the way, go to freshblack.coffee if you want to watch this. Otherwise, if you're watching and you want to pass it on for people who just want to listen, go to freshblackcoffee.podbean, B-E-A-N, podbean.com. And
hey, listen, we're going to have links on there for the Ugandan coffee that Eddie's just got some fantastic sources on some of the best coffee. I'm taking some home tonight. You're also going to be able to get his book, Y'all Have Sinned, and there's plenty more to come, I'm sure.
All right. Bye. Dave and his